Gregory Peck was many things. An Oscar winner, a Hollywood icon, one of the most respected men in the film industry. But behind that composed, unshakable public image was a man who had spent much of his life searching for something he couldn't easily name. He found it. And before he died, he admitted exactly where and with whom. The woman he revealed wasn't the one the headlines had speculated about for years. She was the one who had been there all along, doing something far quieter and far more lasting than fame ever could. Gregory Peck entered the world on April 5, 1916, in San Diego, California. From the outside, it might sound like the perfect beginning for a future Hollywood legend. But behind that peaceful setting was a childhood filled with heartbreak. His parents simply weren't suited for each other. Their marriage had been falling apart for years. And by the time Gregory was only 5 years old, their relationship finally collapsed. His mother, Bunny, filed for divorce at a time when divorce was incredibly uncommon. The divorce itself wasn't the most painful part of Gregory's early years. When his parents separated, they reached one heartbreaking agreement. They neither wanted to raise their son. Fortunately, Gregory's grandmother stepped in when no one else would. Looking back, it is remarkable how the darkest chapter of his childhood laid the foundation for the man he would eventually become. Every week she dressed him up and took him somewhere that would unknowingly shape his future. Not to church, but to the movies. Gregory watched everything that was showing. Without realizing it, those regular trips were planting the first seeds of a lifelong passion for acting. When Gregory was 9 years old, his grandmother took him to see The Phantom of the Opera. The haunting images stayed with him long after the credits rolled. That night, still shaken, he slipped into his grandmother's room and slept beside her because he was too frightened to sleep alone. Just as Gregory was approaching his 10th birthday, his grandmother was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Gregory's bedroom was next to hers. Night after night, he lay awake, listening to her cries through the wall. During the day, he visited her often, reading the newspaper aloud or simply sitting quietly beside her. Then came another life-changing moment. His parents decided to send him away to a Catholic military academy. Gregory didn't want to leave, especially while his grandmother was so ill, but he had little choice. While Gregory was away at school, his beloved grandmother passed away. The woman who had given him love, stability, and a sense of belonging was suddenly gone. Gregory eventually returned to San Diego to live with his father and enrolled at San Diego High School. A few years later, in 1934, he transferred to San Diego State Teachers College. It was there that something unexpected happened. For the first time, he discovered the theater. He enrolled in acting and public speaking classes, and it quickly became clear that he had found something special. On stage, he felt completely at home. Still, Gregory wasn't convinced acting should be his future. Instead, he set his sights on medicine. Believing he wanted to become a doctor like his father, he enrolled at the University of California, Berkeley. To pay his expenses, Gregory accepted whatever work he could find. Standing 6 feet 3 inches with the build of a college rower, he wasn't exactly easy to overlook. Before long, students noticed something else about him as well: his rich, smooth voice. An acting coach recognized its unique quality and encouraged Gregory to take acting more seriously. Slowly, medicine faded into the background while the stage became his real focus. By his senior year, he had appeared in 5 theatrical productions. Looking back, Gregory often described his years at Berkeley as the happiest period of his life. There was just one problem. He left before earning his degree. He walked away without graduating because his mind was already fixed on something much bigger, Broadway. With dreams far larger than his bank account, Peck headed to New York City. His first stop was the prestigious neighborhood playhouse. But while he trained during the day, life outside the classroom was far less glamorous. Money was constantly running out. At times, Gregory became so broke that he had nowhere to sleep except Central Park. To survive, he accepted one odd job after another. He worked as a barker at the 1939 World's Fair and later became a page at Rockefeller Center. The breakthrough he had been waiting for finally arrived. Ironically, it didn't happen in New York. Instead, Gregory landed a role in George Bernard Shaw's play, The Doctor's Dilemma, in San Francisco. When the production opened in December 1941, he was finally earning a living as an actor. But almost immediately, history intervened. Only 1 week after the play opened, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. The United States entered World War II. Looking at Gregory Peck, most people assumed he would soon be wearing a military uniform. Tall, athletic, and in excellent physical condition, he seemed like the perfect recruit. What few people knew was that he had already suffered a devastating injury. While studying acting, Gregory had taken movement classes taught by legendary choreographer Martha Graham. During one stretching exercise, Graham believed he wasn't bending far enough. To push him deeper into the stretch, she placed her knee against his back and forced him forward. Everyone in the room heard a loud snapping sound. The next morning, Gregory could barely walk. Doctors fitted him with a heavy canvas brace, which he wore for several years. When the military examined him, the decision was straightforward. He wasn't fit for service. In one of life's strange twists, what kept Gregory out of the army opened doors on the stage. With so many actors serving overseas, theaters across the country desperately needed performers. During the war years, he appeared in around 50 stage productions, including 3 on Broadway. The war accelerated Gregory's career in ways no one could have predicted. In 1944, Gregory Peck took the biggest step of his career so far. His first feature film was Days of Glory. The timing was filled with irony. The story was set during World War II, yet Peck had never served because of his back injury. He had never acted in front of a movie camera before. The director spent much of the production helping Peck unlearn his stage habits. When Days of Glory was released, critics were unimpressed. The New York Times described his acting as stiff. For many actors, a debut like that could have ended their momentum. But World War II had created an unusual situation. With so many male stars serving overseas, studios desperately needed fresh faces. Despite the poor reviews, producers still believed Peck had enormous potential. That was when he made one of the smartest business decisions of his career. Rather than lock himself into one studio, he negotiated non-exclusive contracts with 4 different studios instead. The gamble paid off. Instead of waiting for a studio to tell him what role came next, Gregory Peck gained the freedom to choose projects that challenged him. That freedom led him to the film that truly changed everything. Later that same year, Peck starred in The Keys of the Kingdom. He played a Catholic priest whose life stretched across decades, requiring him to portray the character from his 20s all the way into old age. The film itself received mixed reviews, but there was one major difference. While critics had reservations about the film, they couldn't ignore Gregory Peck's performance. His work earned his first Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. Almost overnight, everything changed. As Peck's career gathered momentum, he continued choosing projects that stretched him as an actor. In 1945, he accepted a role in Spellbound, Alfred Hitchcock's psychological thriller starring Ingrid Bergman. From the beginning, Peck sensed that something wasn't right. Hitchcock remained polite but distant throughout production. Eventually, he learned the real reason. Hitchcock had never wanted Gregory Peck for the role. His first choice had always been Cary Grant. Fortunately, Peck found support elsewhere on set. He developed a strong working relationship with Ingrid Bergman, whose kindness helped balance an otherwise tense production. Years later, Peck acknowledged that what they shared had been real. He simply spoke of his deep affection for her. Following Spellbound, Peck continued building his reputation. In 1947, he starred in Gentleman's Agreement. The film followed a journalist who pretended to be Jewish in order to experience anti-Semitism firsthand. It challenged prejudice directly and became one of the most important social dramas of its era. The film earned 8 Academy Award nominations, including another Best Actor nomination for Peck. Then came Roman Holiday, released in 1953. The romantic comedy paired Peck with a young actress named Audrey Hepburn, who was making her first major starring appearance in Hollywood. Peck saw her talent immediately. When promotional posters were being prepared, His name was originally scheduled to appear alone above the title, while Hepburn's appeared below. Peck objected. He called his agent and demanded that Hepburn also receive above the title billing. He said, "This girl's going to win an Oscar in her very first performance." His instincts proved correct. Audrey Hepburn won the Academy Award for Best Actress. It was a generous gesture from a leading man who had nothing to gain and everything to lose by sharing the spotlight. In May 2026, Turner Classic Movies honored Gregory Peck as its Star of the Month, showcasing his enduring impact, including To Kill a Mockingbird, Roman Holiday, and Gentleman's Agreement. By the early 1950s, Gregory Peck's first marriage had already begun to unravel. Though they remained under the same roof, much of that was for the sake of their children. Behind closed doors, the marriage had effectively come to an end. Then fate stepped in. In 1952, Peck traveled to Europe to begin work on Roman Holiday. Before heading to Rome, Paramount asked him to stop in Paris for an interview with Francois. The journalist assigned to interview him was a young French reporter named Véronique Passani. From their very first conversation, there was an undeniable connection. Months later, upon his return to Paris, Peck called the newspaper to track her down. He invited her to lunch that day. She hesitated. He persisted. Their lunch at a Left Bank restaurant marked the beginning of a love story that lasted for over 50 years. After 14 years of marriage, Gregory Peck's divorce became official on December 30th, 1955. The very next day, December 31st, he married Véronique Passani. Peck was 16 years older than his new bride, who was only 23 at the time. Unlike his first marriage, this one brought him the peace and stability he had been searching for. Friends often described their relationship as affectionate and deeply supportive. During his chairmanship of the American Cancer Society in 1966, they toured 26 cities and together raised over $50 million for cancer research. She helped create and was principal fundraiser for the Inner City Cultural Center, an interracial theater group in South Central Los Angeles. She was voted Woman of the Year by the Los Angeles Times in recognition of her work as a founder of the Los Angeles Music Center. In 1976, Véronique Peck became an American citizen. She never lost her French elegance, but as she put it, "I am French by birth, American by choice." When producer Alan Pakula made the call to offer Gregory the role of Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird, Gregory asked him to send over 2 galley copies so that he and Véronique could read it at the same time. They never ran out of things to talk about. After Gregory's passing, Véronique took over producing the Gregory Peck Reading Series, which raises funds for the Los Angeles Public Library. In 2009, Véronique was honored with the Light of Learning Award from the Los Angeles Library Foundation. In April 2012, she traveled to Washington for President Obama's private White House screening marking the 50th anniversary of To Kill a Mockingbird. Véronique Peck died on August 17, 2012, at her home in Los Angeles from heart failure at the age of 80. She was survived by her 2 children, writer/producer Anthony Peck, and documentary filmmaker Cecilia Peck Volume 50. On June 12, 2003, Gregory Peck passed away peacefully at his home at the age of 87. His wife, Véronique, was by his side, holding his hand until his final moments. Before death, Gregory Peck revealed she was the one woman he truly loved. She was the one who had been there all along, doing something far quieter and far more lasting than fame ever could. And in the end, that love was the only thing that truly mattered. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more stories about the real lives behind Hollywood's biggest legends.